Welcome back to Friendly Neighborhood White People, or effing white people for short. Even though right now, white people showing up. And they're showing up in cities all across this fucking nation. And they're looking at ICE, and they're looking at the National Guard, and they're going, you know what? Fuck you, motherfuckers. Because right now, there's an invasion in American cities by a small-handed, misshapen penis likes to lie about his height and his weight. Orange buffoon.
See, I was reading up on this, and apparently he has been blocked in Illinois. He has been blocked in California.
He's been blocked in Oregon.
But right now, there's an invasion of Memphis.
There's an invasion in Washington, D.C., too.
So Washington, D.C. is a little different because it's a sovereign city, but it's not really a sovereign city. Whereas Tennessee is a sovereign state. Like, we have states' rights, and part of the 14th Amendment, and I want to say, what was the other amendment? I looked this up a minute ago.
Well, what's funny is that all these cities that are being targeted right now are led by Democratic fucking leaders.
The 10th Amendment. It's a violation of the 10th Amendment. It's a violation of the 14th Amendment.
Violation of the First Amendment.
Well, they aren't violating the First Amendment. Do you know what they're mostly doing in Memphis? Do you know what they've mostly done in Memphis? Write traffic citations. You know what that's also called? Harassment of a state by the federal government. Because what point is there in the federal government stepping into Memphis and writing goddamn traffic citations?
What's that?
I thought Memphis was supposed to be this place of violent crime and civil unrest. So why are they writing traffic violations?
To be fair, Memphis, until, like, I'm sure it's on the decline right now, was the city with the most crime in it.
Yeah.
It's not the state with the most crime in it. It's not sitting in the state with the most crime in it, but it is the city with the most crime.
But it's been a steady decline.
But right now, because it has a new leader who happens to be Democratic, who also happens to be black, I wonder if that's got anything to do with it, is now being targeted. There's another thing here that I wanted to touch on. It's a violation of something. One moment, please, while I look this up. I had it. Supposed to be violating, what is it? Son of a bitch. I had it, but then I lost it. It was like, Capitus? Nah, fuck, I can't remember what it is. I'm not spending too much time trying to look for it.
Well, I know it's a violation of the 10th Amendment. And
It's also saying, well, what it is, it's supposed to, it protects the states from the federal government using federal troops as basically a police force.
Which, apparently, like, this bloated piece of shit just does not seem to grasp the idea. He talks about law and order, but he can't grasp it. Because we have laws in place to keep order in check. He is violating laws to get his own order. Which, I mean, if you're behind this, if you're okay for this, get your goose steps ready, and don't forget your Roman salutes.
we know who's okay with it?
Hitler.
Well, who's still alive? Governor Bill Lee. Governor Bill Lee is completely behind the federal government's invasion of Memphis.
Which Governor Bill Lee is facing a lawsuit right now from the city of Memphis stating that you're in complete violation.
Yes.
And it's funny because Tennessee, the whole background of Tennessee is to be outlaws. We fucking created a sport running from the law. NASCAR is based on bootleggers souping up their cars to run from the law while running shy.
Mm-hmm.
It pisses me off to no end
when I hear Tennesseans going back to blue or no, we're for Trump, it's like, no, motherfuckers, you're not a Tennessean. What the fuck are you doing? Tennesseans show up to a fucking auction that the fucking state government wants to take an elder person's fucking land and goes, no, motherfuckers, y'all aren't allowed here. Just because you banks want to just throw on fees and this, that, and the other want to take Miss Lucille's fucking land, guess what? The auction's here now. We're the highest bidder, and the highest bid is $1 fucking dollar, and it's Miss Lucille. And I dare any of you to fucking argue, because we have hills in this state, and we know where to bury it fucking by. So it pisses me off to no end when I hear fucking Tennessean, which I'm thinking that these motherfuckers who are, you know, back to blue and fucking Trumpers and shit are not actually true Tennesseans. And that Tim Birdshit motherfucker can sit there and say he's from Tennessee all he wants and lick the boots, but he ain't a true Tennessean. Because a true Tennessean looks at authority and just goes, fuck the police, and fuck the government.
I don't necessarily agree that you have to be like anti-government in order to be a Tennessean.
No, you don't, but at the same time, you're not going to roll over and show your fucking belly. I am a Tennessean. I was born in Tennessee. I've spent the majority of my life here. The only reason why I do not talk like I have a Tennessee accent is because of poverty, we had to move away. But I've always come back because Tennessee's a fucking black hole. Doesn't matter where you're from. If you try to move away, you're always pulled back to fucking Tennessee.
I can attest to that as someone who's tried to leave Tennessee several times, and I keep being pulled back in.
I have moved to so many different states, not only as a child, but as an adult, and I keep getting fucking pulled back in, because Tennessee is my fucking home. And to the Tennesseans that are born here and never leave, I mean, you're going to find more than a handful that look at the situation that we got going on right now and go, no, fuck this nonsense.
I don't know, there's a lot of people that are behind it.
No, I don't think those fuckers are from Tennessee.
I think they are. Because Tennessee has turned into a deeply red state.
Yeah, well, Tennessee's also well. All right, so I think one of the biggest problems there is Tennessee wasn't a red state for a long fucking time. Tennessee was blue as shit.
Tennessee was purple.
Tennessee, before it turned purple, was blue as shit until about 2008. I wonder what happened then. But because of our heritage, not hate, they had a minor change of heart and decided to go a little red and turn the state purple. And then in 2020 or 2016 went full fucking red, despite little pockets. But if you sat down, I guarantee you, if you sat down like we watched in that video with Bernie Sanders in West Virginia, if you sat down and you talked to these diehard fucking Trump supporters in Tennessee and asked them what they really want, they would be like, it's not what fucking Trump is giving us. But considering Tennessee sits at the very bottom, not at the very bottom, but, you know, at the bottom of education, and the fact that when you have the established Democrats basically go, for every Democratic Southerner will gain a moderate New Englander or California or Republican or whatnot. Just you have the Democratic Party just fucking abandon us, which your Chuck Schumers and your Nancy Pelosi's and the fucking other ones like them.
Well, they only abandoned us. People think that the Democratic Party abandoned us economically, but they never did. They abandoned us socially. And socially, you and I are very strong fucking Democrats.
Yes, but when you hear Chuck Schumer say, for every Democratic son...
When did he say that?
We were watching the video of fucking Bernie Sanders.
I don't remember Chuck Schumer saying that.
He fucking did.
I went to the bathroom during that part.
Or you were just zoned out. He said, for every Democratic Southerner we lose, we will gain a moderate Republican in more urban areas.
And Chuck Schumer said this on a hot mic.
Yes, Chuck Schumer is one of the reasons why I
don't like the Democratic Party, but there's a lot in the Democratic Party that I agree with and I, side with. But no, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are both part of the establishment.
Okay, yeah. He said that we would pick up two.
Pick up two moderates for every.
But that's not because that was a recent thing. That wasn't when he lost. That's not when we started ignoring the southern states. Started ignoring the southern states a long time ago when we decided, well, one of the things we did was we elected a black man to president. We put up a black man in a place where people just aren't going to vote for a black man. And that's wrong, and I think that's wrong, but that's the state that I grew up in. I grew up in a state where the Ku Klux Klan is still like alive and well.
I mean, the Klan was started in this state.
And I don't give a fuck that it was started in the state, though. I give a fuck that it's alive and well. Like, that's how they lost the Democrats. And now they think that they're never going to get the Democrats, or that's how they lost the Southerners. I think they think that they're never going to get the Southerners back because we've become a party of progressive ideas. And those progressive ideas are not very popular in the South. The South doesn't want things like...
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you should just give up on them.
I don't think it means you should give up on them.
Which they did.
But there are certain things you just can't do. You just can't make the South do. You can't make the South educate its populace.
Well, you can.
No, you can't.
No, you can.
For the most part, education is left up to the states. So no, you can't.
Well, you can by electing fucking officials that will actually educate the populace.
But you have to do that on a state-by-state basis, and the states don't want to do that.
But Tennessee is the state with the lowest voter turnout.
I don't think Tennessee's the state with the lowest voter turnout.
That's one thing our friend Karen talks about.
I know we have a low voter turnout, but I don't think it's the lowest.
Well, we wait.
No, we're not the state with the lowest voter turnout.
What is?
I'm scrolling. Oklahoma. We have a very low voter turnout in Tennessee there. But we don't want to educate our populace, because if we educate our populace, then they're going to become aware of the corruption in the state. And we do live in one of the more corrupt states as far as local elections go.
I think West Virginia actually is the lowest.
No, I that's where it was Oklahoma.
No, you're right. 54.43. Then it's West Virginia, and then it's us.
Yeah, we're very low. We're not quite the lowest.
We're third from bottom. Oh, no, fourth. Hawaii.
See, and this is the thing, is Hawaii is not even a state. On the international stage,
So we're fifth.
Hawaii's not a state. Hawaii is a kidnapped fucking nation.
We're fifth. Because Arkansas has a lower turnout than some of the other ones. But hell, we only have a little less than 60% of voter turnout.
And we don't want...
Then in Montgomery County, in certain areas, and I'm pretty sure our numbers only get us up to a higher percentage because of certain cities with a higher population.
Well, no, because every state has cities with higher population.
Name a city in fucking Oklahoma that has a high population.
I was out my head, I don't know, but I'm not very up to date on Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, I think the capital is Oklahoma City. And I don't even think it has, I'm not even sure. But we're going.
Oh, Tulsa, Oklahoma City?
Well, shit, Tulsa doesn't have goddamn good history either.
No, it does not.
I mean, the 1920s in fucking Tulsa were not a good place to fucking be, especially if you were black.
It's very true.
But invasions in this fucking... and the argument for this invasion is supposed to be to cut down on crime and illegal immigrants.
Technically, they just said to cut down on violent crime.
Well,
But they're sending ICE, which obviously means that it's about immigration. And what they've mainly done in Memphis is write traffic citations, which I don't even think they have the authority to fucking do.
Which, if you're going to go after a place with the highest crime in the state, go after fucking Louisiana. Oh, wait, no, that's a Republican state. That's a red state. Even though, why the fuck are you going after goddamn Memphis? It's in a red state. Oh, wait, Memphis is a blue city.
Memphis is a blue dot in a very red state.
That's why they also want to send troops to Nashville.
Which Nashville isn't even a blue dot, it's a purple dot.
When did it become okay in this fucking country to just send in fucking troops and shit to cities just because they don't like you?
Well, when we elected a very incompetent, insecure,
Immature.
peon of a little man.
I saw this video of this comedian who was like, he's got the answer on how to take on Trump.
Oh, yeah?
Because he said if you look at it, if you examine him, Trump is like a 12-year-old in an Xbox Live room online. And he's always like, oh yeah, you fuck your mom, and you know, your mom is so stupid and things like that. And, you know, oh my God, you're just so stupid. I'm the greatest, and you're not. And he's like, there's a solution. Because the Democrats are like, oh my God, no, you didn't fuck my mom. My mom's not stupid. No, there's a solution. And the solution has to come from the LGBTQ community. Because there's one way to fix a 12-year-old bully in an Xbox Live chat. What they need to do is just give a pass to AOC. Go, here's your pass. You may call Trump the F slur and hit both syllables hard.
I don't understand how that's going to solve the problem.
Because it will blow his mind. He will just dissolve into a fucking puddle and it will be done.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I absolutely think it will. And the thing is you obviously you being in the alphabet are just like, no, I don't, no, that's not funny. That's not how it's.
But not only is it not funny, like, I don't think it's funny, but I also don't think it's going to solve anything.
Yeah.
Because believe me, as a member of the alphabet, if I thought it would solve anything, I would give him that fucking pass.
Yeah, no, it would.
Or I would give her that fucking pass. But I don't think that solves anything. All that does is, like, give him another thing to range about, which he has plenty to range about as it is.
Yeah, well, no, it would, because he would be so focused, be like, I'm not that, that he would totally forget about everything else.
I don't think that's going to happen.
You underestimate the mentality of a 12-year-old boy in an Xbox Live chat.
No, I think that a 12-year-old boy would fucking, like, melt at that.
Yeah, and what?
But I don't think that Trump is going to melt at that. I think that that's just the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard, is call Trump the F word, and he's going to melt. Like, I think he melts all the time, and that still doesn't solve anything.
He fucking, like, he gets so focused on stupid shit, like when somebody says he has small hands.
Yes, and did that solve anything? No. Making tiny dick jokes, which also would melt a 12-year-old, would, yes. That most 12-year-olds don't want to think about. Yes.
No.
And that's not going to do anything. That is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. No, all it's going to do is give him something new to rant about and give him something else to push his base up with. I think that works in his favor.
I still think it'd be funny as well.
It wouldn't be funny. All it would do is insult an entire group of people by associating it with Trump.
No, that's why you get passed. And also, they wouldn't be associated with it.
We've reclaimed that word.
And, well, I also think, like, you know, a lot of them, despite you, present company excluded, the episode of South Park, where they kind of took that word with the Harley riders.
Yes.
Yeah, you're sitting there at a red light trying to make a turn, all of a sudden the light turns yellow and you think it's your time to turn, but a BMW comes speeding through it and makes you miss your turn. What's the first thing you say, scream at them?
No, that's what people who are insecure in their masculinity scream at them. Because
I'm not insecure in my masculinity.
Apparently you must be, if that's the word you're screaming at people who are passing you in BMWs. Because
Yeah.
the only reason, like, psychologically speaking, the only reason you use a term like that is to make yourself feel better. You would use that term if you feel insecure about your masculinity.
No. I mean, fuck, you've seen me in a goddamn gay bar.
I have, but that doesn't mean that you can't ask. I'm just being honest. Like, psychologically speaking, the only reason you...
Oh, you're a science major.
I am.
Yeah.
There's no other reason to use that term unless you're part of the community.
Unless you're picking up a bundle of sticks.
In this country.
Well, yeah, in this country. But if you're in a European country, you could be smoking a cigarette.
If you're in this country, the only reason to use that term is, especially if you're using it in anger, is because that's the word that comes to your mind, and that's the word that would come to the mind.
So it also being changed because that's not the term that you use. Like, cause now, you know,
Gay. We're being gay.
Same thing, because they're just using that term would boost your masculinity. That's why I would say you have to be insecure in your masculinity in order to use that term.
It doesn't boost my masculinity, though.
You don't use that term, or if you do, I mean you need to have a real serious conversation because that's not okay with me.
But back on topic. The invasions of fucking USC. Now, I do like what's happening in Portland. The twerking frog. You've seen this guy?
Yes.
So he's become
At least nation renowned. I'm sure world renowned at this time. And he gathered the following. Because other than, unlike in like Chicago and DC and things like that, where they just kind of push back against ICE and kind of, you know, violence meets violence. And I don't blame them. I say, you know, if ICE shows up in your fucking town and they're trying to snatch people off the fucking streets while wearing masks and not identify themselves, guess what? If you're trying to snatch somebody and you're wearing a mask and you're not identifying yourself, that means you're trying to kidnap somebody. And if you're trying to kidnap somebody, you're within your legal fucking rights to use force to stop that person from kidnapping somebody. There are legal precedents to using force against authority figures.
Well, there's legal precedent to using force against people who are committing crimes, like violent crimes.
Kidnapping is a fucking violent crime.
I would agree.
And I'm not, you know, a Chicagoan, but I have lived there for a couple years as a kid. And I know that Chicago is the fuck around and find out fucking city. And I fucking applaud it. You want to start snatching people up, grandmas and children and whatnot? No, you show up. Baseball bat, tasers, brass knuckles, street gear. And what the fuck are you doing? No, we're going to take them because they're in the Lake. Warrant. We don't need a warrant. Oh, the fuck? I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't see a badge. I just see a gun. I see a guy in a mask with a gun trying to snatch Miss Consuela. Miss Consuela fucking makes a great fucking fool, and she watches my kids when I don't have time to, when I'm at work, or make sure they're, you know, no, show up with your fucking mace and shit. Start macing them.
Apparently there was a cop that was kidnapped off the street. He was arrested. And A, he was a cop. B, like, he had a legal right to work here. But that didn't stop him from being arrested and detained because it's racial profiling. The only thing they're going on is the color of your skin. You look like you're from a, you know, South American, lower North American country.
The problem is if I tan up just right, throw on a certain set of clothes.
You can look Hispanic or even Middle Eastern when you can.
But as 23andMe has fucking proved and updated my shit, I wear this shit flop. Even though I should probably like tan up, but you know, because of my tattoos and everything. If I got a darker skin, start wearing a beanie. Now like the grayness in my beard might give me. We haven't had much icing involvement and stuff in our city.
In Clarksville?
I wasn't going to give our city away.
We've already given it away before.
Oh, have we? Yeah, we haven't had a whole lot of ice. Even though there's a good Hispanic, Latino, you know, mix in our little city. But fuck, we live in a goddamn military town, which I wonder if that's a reason.
Well, I think we also live in a red state, and they're not so worried about.
They're trying to send troops to fucking Memphis and Nashville. And they get stations.
You don't live in a blue or purple city. We live in a red city. We're tiny blue dots in a red city, in a red state, in what is currently a red country. Although, by populace, we're not a red country. We're actually a blue country. It's just that gerrymandering has fucked that up.
The Republican, if they actually did even districting, the Republicans would lose every election.
Yes. Because their political stances aren't popular. Like, take abortion. Abortion is popular. People want the right to abortion.
But you got bitches like fucking Marsha Blackburn, and can't say Mark Green anymore because he's out.
Yeah.
About to get somebody new in to replace him, but you got Tim Burchett and Bill Lee and
Although apparently Tennessee, not pro-abortion, not pro-choice,
not surprising.
by populace.
Well,
Narrowly not, but not.
I think they didn't ask enough people.
Well, in standardized polls, Tennessee votes not like not along district lines, but it's like just a standard straw poll. Tennessee votes pro-life, which I hate calling it pro-birth.
Because if you're, anti-abortion and whatnot, you're not pro-life. You're just pro-birth because pro-life would be once the baby's born, there's programs for the parents and the child.
So we'll get that to Tennessee. So Tennessee does predominantly vote or is in favor of those programs.
Really?
Yes, there are actually pro-birth people who are anti-abortion, but WIC, pro-food stamps, pro-free child care.
Yeah.
And the people of Tennessee, by and large, are for those programs. They're just anti-abortion
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Mostly for religious reasons. If you read your Bible, the Bible's pro-abortion. It says life doesn't begin until the first breath. That's why the Jewish people are pro-abortion. They're not even pro-abortion, just pro-choice. Like, they think that it's a woman's right to choose.
Yeah, even Jesus said if the life of the mother is in danger, don't worry about the unborn child.
Where did Jesus say that?
In the red scripture.
In the red parts of the scripture, but where?
It's got to be in Mark.
Well, there's red parts of scripture all over the New Testament.
No, I think the red part's only in Mark.
No, there's red parts throughout. Like, the red part is whenever Jesus speaks.
Well, there's Luke, and then it says, tell a story of a woman who was forgiven for her sins, according to adultery. There's Psalm 106 and Kings, and how the only time abortion is actually mentioned in the Bible is during Numbers, and it's how to perform one. So, yeah. But, didn't know topic once again.
Now, I have seen, like in D.C., where the troops have been deployed,
The troops don't have anything to fucking do.
Well, that's because, by and large, in most of these cities, they've been blocked from doing anything.
And, well, I also like the fact that in places like Chicago, when it comes to ICE, like puppy killer Kristi Noem can't find anywhere, not even a fucking pot to fucking piss in. Literally. Every restaurant, every establishment that she's gone to, be like, oh, well, we need to use bathroom. Sorry, we have the right to refuse service.
I didn't hear about this, but this warms my heart.
Yeah, no. All over Chicago. If you're ICE involved, you are not welcome. And Kristi Noem has walked up to a restaurant in Chicago going, excuse me, we need to use bathroom. And they am basically going, no, fuck you.
That warms my heart.
Fucking puppy killer, goddamn make believe.
Which, to me, still fucking kills me. Like, who...
kills a goddamn puppy because it wants to be a puppy.
But who even thinks that's a good story to tell?
Yeah. Well, and this is once again the type of people that Trump surrounds himself with.
Like, I get that sometimes animals have to be euthanized. But A, that wasn't a reason to euthanize an animal. That was not a reason to euthanize an animal.
You euthanize an animal because they're sick.
B, you don't tell heartwarming stories about euthanizing an animal. Like, I've had to euthanize animals before, and they're not heartwarming stories. Or heart-wrenching stories.
8-month or 11-month-old fucking puppy that was
Behaving like a puppy.
behaving like a puppy, and that's the reason why you had to fucking euthanize. Don't get the goddamn puppy, or spend better money on the fucking trainer, or, and this goes above all of it, have a fucking heart.
I still can't believe that she told that story as though that was like going to win her political points.
Apparently it did.
It didn't win her political points. Even Republicans were like, that's a step too far.
Think about Republicans fucking going a step too far. NTG.
I am surprised with how often I'm agreeing with her lately.
She is
It makes me uncomfortable.
flipping. She's not, and she stated that she will not be a Democrat, but she is just going hard against MAGA.
Mostly over the Epstein list, right?
Not just the Epstein list.
What else?
The invasion of fucking cities.
Really? She's against that?
Yes.
Well, goddamn.
Overstepping the bounds. She's become a bit constitutional. I mean, I know. I feel like though, because midterms are coming out, and Georgia might be looking at her and going, "Oh, Joel, you're sweet, Joel." She might just, trying to be getting some clout right now, but she has surprised the fuck out of me.
She surprised me over how quickly she turned on the Epstein list.
And then,
Which should be a unifying factor for us all. Like, the Epstein list.
more than the fact that Thomas Massey, the Republican senator from Kentucky, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, if they actually got back to being Republicans, and if they actually had Republican values, I would probably find myself more Republican than I would Democrat.
Well, it depends on how far back you go. If you go back, like, pre-Civil War, I'm a Republican.
Yes. If you actually had Republican value, Republican, stance, I would probably be more Republican. I would have some Democratic views on helping the people and things like that. The federal government helping the people. But as far as like the government staying out the fuck of states' business and shit, I'd be a Republican.
Well, it depends on what state business you're talking about. I think there are some things that are state business. I think there are other things that are
Like I said, there'd be some things that I'd be like, no, federal government needs to step in and be like, no, this is across the board.
like, I think the federal government needs to step in to make sure everyone has the right to vote.
Everyone has the right to vote. Everyone has the right to fucking marry who the fuck they want to marry.
Everyone has the right to make their own decisions about their own body.
If it involves taxes, voting, and healthcare. I would also say education. Taxes, voting, healthcare, and education. Government needs to step in and go, no. We got a flat line. But other than that, the federal government should be like, all right, so unless, like, when it comes to, like, drugs, we'll leave that up to the states.
Well, I think that even on some tax information, it should be left up to the states. Like, I think that states should be able to decide how they charge taxes.
If that's a state tax.
Yep.
But federal taxes,
Federal taxes, I think, should be, yeah.
And you and I will sit here and fucking probably agree that taxes are important.
Yes. I don't.
Now, taxation without representation, that is a problem.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, Guam, New Guinea.
But I do think that, yes. Like, for instance, one thing that my local taxes go to is schools. Now, I don't have children in school. I don't have children. So, there's the argument to be made that I shouldn't have to pay for schools. But I don't want to pay for schools because I want to live in an educated populace. That benefits me in the long run. Having the children educated so that they can then grow up to be responsible adults benefits me in the long run. Therefore, I am for my taxes paying for schools. I'm not for my taxes paying for charter schools. Because charter schools are just like, you can teach whatever the fuck you want.
yeah, they're going to be a more religious base in our state than anything else.
And I strongly believe in the separation of church and state.
I mean, I will say though, if you take the tax situation out of it and go, I don't want my kids going to a public school. I want my kid going to a school that is more religious based. I'm like, all right, no, cool, go ahead. You will not receive any state or federal funding for that school though. You have to come together as a community like you do on Sunday for, and then you have your,
Tithes?
do what?
Tithes?
No.
What?
When you give the fucking,
Money?
yeah,
Yeah, it's when you pay your tithes.
I just call that the money plate.
Yeah, it's called tithes. You're supposed to pay 10% as a Christian.
No.
You're not a Christian, therefore you pay 0%.
Even when we were going to church, we didn't pay no goddamn 10%.
According to the Bible, you're supposed to pay 10% to the church.
Yeah, no, that just, the communal plate or the fucking donation plate or whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah,
The one that I grabbed and handed to the next person.
that's paying your tithes.
And they just kind of looked at me like, mother, what, you're not going to, no, I'm poor, goddamn it. You want 10%? I got to untie my shoes.
But I say this as a person who was raised in the church. That 10% is supposed to go back to the community. It's not supposed to go in Joel Osteen's pocket.
I mean, but once again, if you, and I will also say though, I will say right there, if you be like, I want my kid to go to this school that we're setting up that's more religious based than a public school, but no, okay, cool, go ahead. I'm not going to put your kid on truancy or anything like that.
I do think there's certain things that all.
If you opt out your child from going to public school to this quote-unquote private school, because it would be a private school, go ahead. You and your child will not be eligible for any tax credits or benefits or anything like that come from that.
So I support the right of people to send their children to public or to private schools. I do think that it's in the national interest for those private schools to teach a certain curriculum. Now, can they teach in addition to that curriculum? Yes. If you want to also teach about Jesus, that's fine. If you want to do that on your dime, that's fine. But I think you have to teach certain things. And I think one of those things is because we can't just be teaching these kids anything. We can't be teaching them that Jesus walked around with dinosaurs.
See, I would say no, simply because let those kids and whatnot be taught that shit and then try to get into the real world and have to deal with shit and realize how not
Charter for failure.
exactly.
So we have a responsibility to not set our children up for failure.
If your parents are dumb enough to fucking set you up for failure, it's not our problem.
But it is.
No.
It becomes our problem because then we have all these kids going to private school that aren't prepared for fucking college.
Yeah, and then they can't get into college.
Yes. And then that leaves them milking the fucking public dime because they can't get a good job.
Oh, no, they won't be fucking milking any shit because the only thing that they'll be used for or good for is picking up a shovel.
Yes.
Or flipping a fucking burger.
But then they can't pay to live. Therefore, they're milking the public dime. So we need an educated populace. So I think you have to teach children actual facts in school. Because it's not the child's fault.
I used to think that the fucking, when it comes to menial jobs and shit, AI should take over so that we can weed out the dumb.
Weeding out the dumb is one thing. But if you're taught something from birth, it's hard to turn around and you should know this since you were also raised somewhat near the church. It's hard to turn on that.
No, it's not.
Maybe it wasn't hard for you, but it's hard for most people to turn on things, just psychologically speaking, if you're taught something from birth, it's hard to turn on that and think that what you're taught your entire life was wrong.
I mean, to an extent, maybe, but once it clicks, and that's the ones that we need to reach, or the ones that allow it to click.
But then we wait until they're, 40?
No, you don't have to wait until they're 40.
But maybe it doesn't click until they're 40.
I mean, then they had a goddamn
that's about the time they took off their helmet.
Or maybe it doesn't click at all
I'm sorry.
because they never think to question it.
I'm sorry. We got to stop fucking holding up the goddamn bus.
But we're putting that on children. We're letting people indoctrinate children into falsehoods. Now, if you want to teach that Jesus was real, that does no damage to the public as a whole, right? But if you want to teach them that Jesus walked with dinosaurs, that does damage to the public as a whole, because then we're not teaching them actual fucking science.
And eventually, and I know you're going to be like, oh, but no, let fucking people be stupid. But I should also like preface this by saying,
That's child abuse.
take the fucking safety warnings and shit off the shit.
That's child abuse. By allowing people to teach children things that are not true, things that are blatant falsehoods, I can't say that Jesus wasn't real. I can't say that Jesus isn't the Son of God. I don't believe him to be, but I can't say for certainty that he's not, because there's no proof that he is or he isn't. But I can say with certainty that goddamn humans didn't walk with motherfucking dinosaurs, and we shouldn't allow people to teach children like blatant fucking lies.
You want to know how you make a garden grow? Move the weeds.
But you're talking about children. You're calling children weeds because they've been allowed to be indoctrinated by falsehoods, which isn't their fault.
I mean, it's probably coming from the perspective of somebody who doesn't have kids, but
But it's in the public good to not teach them falsehoods.
Yeah,
So we shouldn't allow them to be taught falsehoods.
I mean, but you have enough kids coming out of schools that are not being taught this shit.
But if we allow them, that's only because private schools still cost money in a lot of places.
take that fucking money away from them. Take the federal.
And I agree with that, but still, we need their children, regardless of how stupid the fucking adults are. And if you want to grow up to be a stupid adult, that's your choice. But we shouldn't allow you to be a stupid child.
But but the point I'm getting at is this: if you take away like the federal funding for raising stupid kids, eventually, and you and I both know this,
Those kids who are being raised by stupid adults, but have a higher IQ and have, the ability to think, like a natural critical thinking ability. To go, maybe something's wrong here. Now, let me finish my thought. You're going to allow those kids to come up and whatnot. And yes, you're going to have some kids left behind, and I know no child left behind.
it's so fucking stupid.
You and I don't have a natural ability to critically think. It was something that was fostered enough by other people.
However, well, no, hang on. I disagree because I was raised in a certain way, and
But you had people in your life, other people in your life, who had critical thinking skills.
Not in my immediate life.
Even if you
I
were
had to observe and look.
Yes, but there were still, you had access to it. Some of these children don't have access to that because they're being raised in religious schools. They're only being allowed to watch certain television stations. They're not being allowed to watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
I wasn't allowed.
I'm using that as an example.
Or Sesame Street.
I'm using those as an example. Which, these are the things that foster critical thinking. You are allowed some access to critical thinking skills, but some children aren't.
actually, as a kid, well, other than public schools, and my public schooling, other than
You can't say that you weren't because you're allowed to go to a public school.
yeah, but my public schools in all the states that I live in,
Except for two, were not that great.
No, but they still gave you access to critical thinking skills.
yeah, but that's because I was poor and I had to fucking move.
But they still give you access to critical thinking skills, which some of these children don't have access to, which is why I think that we should dictate what's taught in schools. Like, you want to teach on top of that, that's fine. But certain things should have to be taught in schools.
Yeah.
Like, children, humans didn't walk with fucking dinosaurs, slavery was bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. Humans did not walk with dinosaurs, and slavery was bad and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like we don't have time for that shit.
But we do.
No. What I'm talking about, reaching the kids that fucking their parents are like, you know, oh no, slavery was a good thing, and we totally walked with dinosaurs. All right, listen, your sister.
Like, they can get a
Fucking time.
they can get a different perspective at home. I can't change that. Although I consider it child abuse to teach your child fucking lies.
Then stop teaching your kid about fucking Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and Tooth Fairy, and all that.
I don't believe that we should.
A little lie prepares them for believing it.
I think teaching children about Santa Claus prepares them for like those little lies, prepares them for the big lies. And also, when it comes to Santa Claus in particular, you're teaching that child that like they're worth less if they're from a poor family.
And also, like,
Why did Santa love Susie more and gave Susie a brand new bike when I got new socks?
Yeah, and little lies like Santa and Easter Bunny and all that prepares you for the big lies for like justice and order and harmony and
I don't think those things have to be lies, though.
what they are. There's no universal justice.
I think they are currently, but I don't think they have to be lies. I think that the justice can be a universal truth.
It's not a universal truth. It will never be a universal truth.
I think it can be.
It's impossible.
I don't think it's impossible. I don't agree with that.
And when I say universal, I mean outside of our fucking pale blue dot. Outside of our fucking Milky Way galaxy.
I don't even necessarily disagree with that. I don't know. I haven't met aliens. I don't know what their idea of justice would be. But I know what.
because our and like some I disagree with fucking justice that we have right now.
I do too. But that doesn't mean that.
You and I actually have a different opinion on what justice is to some degree.
Probably.
Because you think that we should take certain people and, you know, examine their brain and figure out how they tick and things like that, where I'm just like, no, kill them.
Well, we can't solve it if we just kill them.
No, we can.
You can't kill out pedophilia.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
You kill enough fucking pedophiles, the pedophiles that come up and be like, oh shit, if I do this, I'm going to die. Stop being fucking
But that
pedophile.
doesn't stop them from thinking it.
But then you're being mindful.
No, because I don't think you should be arrested for thinking it. I think you should be arrested for doing it. But that's such a compulsion that eventually, like, no amount of, like, no, that's wrong is going to stop some acts from happening unless we study it and eradicate it from the inside out. Which is why I think that we should study pedophiles to see why they're pedophiles so that we can stop pedophilia before it happens. Because you're not born a pedophile.
But eventually you're going to have to pull the weeds from the garden.
But we can pull the weeds from the brain before that becomes a problem by treating pedophilia before it becomes pedophilia.
Yeah.
You do.
No.
You need, yes. If you kill every pedophile, you can, instead of locking them up to study them,
Yeah, but we don't even fucking study them.
but I think we should.
But also at the same time,
The same way I think we should study serial killers. That way we can eradicate serial killing. Because these are problems that occur in the brain, in the mind, and we can solve that the same way we cured polio.
No, you got to teach compassion and empathy.
Which goes back to what I was saying about child abuse earlier, which is why I think we have a purpose in ensuring like that children aren't abused, because that leads to, or that's more likely to lead to pedophilia, serial killing, and of course those are two extremes.
But, I mean, if you want the weeds to grow
not as much. First you got to pull the weeds.
I don't think you do that by killing them,
Yeah.
because then you have to wait for it to happen. You see how that's a problem? You have to wait for a pedophile to act out pedophilia to know that they're a pedophile. If we made it an environment where you were studied instead of murdered,
does the brain actually have to be, well, once again, you can just pluck the brain out and keep that alive and study it.
well, we don't have the ability to keep a brain alive outside of a body.
Yes.
I'm working with the science we have, not science fiction.
And I'm working on the fact that we have in our state fucking senators that block this type of shit, because you can easily just clone a goddamn pedophile's fucking brain and study it, or just
But we still can't keep it alive, so we just have a dead piece of meat.
or you could, you know, find a way, like, you know,
Take the head, chop it off.
Because there have been studies, not necessarily on pedophile brains, but on like psychopath brains that have been taken from the dead remains of psychopaths. And we've learned a lot from that, but there's more that you can learn from an alive brain. Those studies. Robert Ressler, for one, learned so much by actually studying serial
You
killers.
don't need the brain of every single one of them.
So who gets to pick and choose who dies? I mean, I'm against the death penalty across the board. I don't think it solves anything. It doesn't deter crime. There are studies to show that. We always do.
I don't know. I will say I am a quick solution kind of guy.
Yes, but your solutions I don't think are well thought out. Like you kill the pedophiles, what stops people from just being raised to be pedophiles?
I mean,
All that is a twisted love mask. That's what makes a pedophile, a twisted love mask. And there are several pedophiles. What twists the one's love?
if you put out there that if you're found to be a pedophile, you're gonna be.
That just gives them an incentive to kill their fucking prey
Yeah, but eventually they will be caught.
after other people have already died.
Yes, I know.
So it's not a good solution.
Once again, when I'm making an omelet, gotta crack some eggs.
You're cracking the eggs of children.
The eggs of children are often cracked, and it's
You're saying that if you
Nothing reflect now, Mel, and it's not even fucking in regards to goddamn pedophilia. Our education system cracked so many fucking eggs of children.
medicine.
our education system has literally killed children, like recently.
I'm not saying recently, but in the past, has it not?
Yes. Mostly Native American children.
And as a result, what did we learn?
That we can't indoctrinate children.
But also, also did we learn? We learned a lot of shit.
No, we didn't. All we learned from that is you can't indoctrinate children against their own culture. Like that is
We learned that you can't indoctrinate your children against their own culture.
well, technically we learned that you can. But you shouldn't. We learned that you shouldn't. We learned that you totally can. It's possible. The results work. But you shouldn't because it's abhorrent. So no, that's a bad example.
But
That example proves exactly my point.
there are things that, and like, well, you're also thinking that if learning something should always be a good thing.
What do you mean it should always be a good thing?
Like whatever we learn should always be a progressive, and
I think we should take it and move it forward, yes.
yeah. But sometimes you learn shit that you just shouldn't do.
Then we shouldn't have done it.
Right. But also, it is like, all right, so if we come to find out later that giving people chemotherapy was not necessarily the right thing to do, should we have never done it to begin with?
Well, we're working on the science that we have. They weren't working on the science that they have. They were working with the biases they have. There's a difference there.
Science is fucking biased.
Science is not supposed to be biased.
Oh, it's not supposed to be.
By definition, science is supposed to be not biased. That's why there's the scientific method, to take bias out of the problem.
Yeah.
They weren't using the scientific method when they took children from their native homes and put them in these other homes and indoctrinated them against their own culture.
And what they learned is that's not the right thing to do.
Well, they weren't even using
Fucking learn something.
We learned nothing.
No, we did learn something.
What did we learn?
That you're not supposed to do that to kids.
We already knew that.
But then we.
Yes, because that's why we didn't do it to white children.
Yeah, but.
We knew it was wrong, or else we would have done it to children across the board. Now, an example of what you're talking about.
Hang on.
There's an example of what you're talking about.
Hang on. At the time, the people that were doing that may not have understood and knew that you shouldn't have done that to people who were not of the European descent.
No,
No,
they knew that what they were doing was wrong.
they might have known. Well, no. Hell, lying out here.
They knew what they were doing was wrong when there were people who were anti-slavery at the time. So no, they were just evil
They didn't think that they were wrong.
because they convinced themselves that they were right, not because they actually thought they were right.
No, they thought they were right,
No, they didn't think they were right.
but they did.
There is an example of what you're talking about.
However, they discovered through heinous bullshit that was not right that they were not right.
They knew they were wrong. Slavers knew they were wrong. Otherwise, they would have done it to other populations. They did it to one population. They thought that population was subhuman, but they only thought that. But there are other people at the same time who didn't see that population subhuman, which shows you that at the time there was a right think and a wrong think. Now, if everyone at the time agreed that that was okay, then that would be a different story, but they didn't. Now, there is an example, though, of what you're talking about. There are several examples in science of what you're talking about, where we learn something by doing something we should never have done. The Stanford prison experiment. We learned a lot. We should never have learned it. But did we use the scientific method in doing so? Yes. Therefore, at that time, we really didn't think there was any harm to what we were doing. So I'll give that a pass, okay? I'll give Professor Z, because I can't pronounce his Zimbardo, a pass, because he really didn't think he was doing harm. Stanley Milgram did experiments that harmed people. He really didn't think he was doing harm. Ash did experiments that harmed people. He really didn't think he was doing harm.
When did Ash perform experiments? Was it in the cabin during Evil Dead 2?
Different Ash.
Evil Dead 3?
Different one.
Ash Ketchum with the Pokemon?
No, ASCH.
I don't know what this is.
So those are actual examples of like science gone awry, but those weren't on children. However, there's an experiment that was done on little Albert, a child that was wrong on so many levels.
Is Albert the one with the chip?
No, Albert's the one that we made afraid of everything. He was a small child that we made afraid of like everything. Skinner, I think it was Skinner, who made him afraid of like
From X-Files?
different Skinner. Oh, they used Skinner in the X-Files because of B.F. Skinner. That's where they got the name Skinner from for the X-Files. I watched an interview about it. But no, Skinner.
All the geeks and the fucking nerds are like, wait, what? Oh, when he was on fucking X-Files!
But no, Skinner tortured a child for science. He didn't think he was hurting the child. But we now know that you can't do that because that was torture for baby Albert. So there are examples in science of where science has gone wrong. I don't think science is,
Science
But science-
does not have a right or wrong.
Science tries to remove the bias to where they really don't think they're doing anything wrong at the time, which is totally different than the people who are like, hey, there's some black people, let's go kidnap them from their continent, bring them over here and force them to do our labor.
That's not science.
That's not science. Exactly. They didn't remove any bias from the situation. They were working on their bias.
Yeah, but that's not science.
And that's my point.
That was never science. That was capitalism.
That's my point. Which is why I don't think you can say they didn't know about what they were doing was wrong.
The Tuskegee experiments,
That was wrong.
but that was science.
That was science, but that wasn't science.
No, that was science.
That was science, but it wasn't very good science.
It wasn't a.
Because they didn't
It was
remove...
a moral.
No,
science.
it wasn't moral, but it also just wasn't good science. They weren't studying a broad population.
What they were studying is the effects of syphilis on the fucking black community.
But they were trying to study syphilis in itself. They only used the black community because it was an easy target at the time, which is why it's not very good science.
Well, I think the underlining thing was, though, what happens if we unleash syphilis on the black community? How can we, further? I think it was a scientific experiment because they were trying to, at the time, see how they can further put their foot down on the necks of black people. So I think the science was, now the morale of the science was unethical.
You mean the moral?
The moral of the science was unethical. But the science was good in the sense that how can we further put our foot on the necks?
So I don't think that the scientists were trying to put their foot on the neck of anyone.
What? No, I think they were.
I don't think they were trying to eradicate black people with fucking syphilis. I think they were trying to study syphilis. What they forgot to do was remove bias from their situation, from their experiment, which is why they used black people, because black people were an easy target. The same can be said for Henry the Black.
No, because they could have easily just got the 4 white people too.
But they didn't, because
No,
that's
what I'm saying.
exactly, because they didn't remove bias from the experiment, which is why it's bad science. We didn't learn anything.
Which is why I'm also thinking that they just simply were like, nope, we're going to do this to the black community to see how we can further eradicate the fucking black people.
That's not what the scientists had in mind. The scientists had in
The scientists didn't, but the people who fucking was like, no, I want you to perform this experiment.
the scientists decided to perform the experiment on black people.
Then there was a couple scientists in there that fucking was like, fuck it.
They let their bias get in the way.
Yeah.
They were biased against black people. Yes, they were biased against black people, definitely. In the same way that Hitler's scientists were biased against Jews.
And gypsies.
But it's not very good science. Because we don't get a lot from studying.
And black.
We don't get a lot out of science that way. Because you can't extrapolate it. Unless you're specifically trying to solve a problem within a community, which they were not doing. It makes no sense to study such a small section of the community. Science. Boom. With that, I think we are basically out of time for this episode. So be sure to like us on all the things.